Our next segment, it's an interesting saga for sure. Let me get you, here we go. Here's the title for our podcast audience again. As frustrations towards Chicago police mount, another attempt at reform stalls at City Hall. We're out of runway. This has to do with a lawsuit stemming from basically an Invisible Institute lawsuit regarding whether or not the CPD should be allowed to destroy records from investigations of police misconduct dating back from, I think, the 90s all the way into the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. It's a long saga. You can look it up online, or you can go to our YouTube channel and look up Jared Casaglad. We did an interview with him, and he's the lawyer that represents Charles Green, who's allegedly a wrongly convicted man. He's never won any kind of pardon or anything like that or clemency from the governor's office. And he's never gotten a ruling in a court to say he's wrongly convicted. The case definitely has a lot of questions. But it's around the filing of a Freedom of Information Act, the FOIA request, to try to get these records after the court said they can no longer be destroyed by law. And the city council, the police department, because they're kind of incompetent, never responded to his request in the required 5 days by law. That means if you don't do that, you can actually, the public body loses the ability to say the request is overly burdensome. And Casaglad won a court hearing at the trial court saying that, yes, the police department cannot claim overly burdensome and all the records have to be made available. I think the city's appealing that. There's been some talk of a settlement. There's been talk of the city offering Charles Green $500,000, the allegedly wrongly convicted guy, to drop the FOIA, because the FOIA was basically made, and I believe it's to some degree in his name. It's been back and forth for months. There's been movement out of the finance committee and Alderman Wagenspach and some of the city council members to actually create an ordinance that would mandate and release of those records, and to put a time table on it, and it would all go through the Inspector General's office to do that. This has been going back and forth for a long time. There are, let me just say, the mayor is like totally against it, totally against opening these records. It's it's going to cost probably a couple $1 million, if not more, to do it, I would bet. There have been varying estimates of like $500,000 to $5 or $10 million. Mayor Lightfoot's against it, thinks it's a useless waste of money. It's not going to help anything. To some degree, I think she's right in the fact that I don't think it's going to have a significant impact on deterring future misconduct. So in that frame, in that kind of sense, she's right. But she has to follow the law. The court ordered the records open, and they must provide them. The city needs to provide them, period. It has nothing to do with whether or not what impact it's going to have on the future. It's mostly for research for Jamie Calvin. It's mostly for research going backwards looking. And while that's always great, how much real effect it's going to have on the street and preventing future violence remains uncertain. And honestly, I have strong reservations we'll be able to do anything like that. It may put the record straight on how bad the police accountability system was, and set the record straight on some officers' histories for brutality, but almost all of those people are long gone. So we'll see what it holds. We're going to keep following it. We'll send FOIAs in for one for every year. Those records are going to be open. Even though I partially agree with the mayor, those records are going to be open.